Silent watchers. Dr. Elena Rice stared at the anomalous data readings for the third time that night, her coffee long since gone cold beside her keyboard. The Lunar Observatory's instruments couldn't be malfunctioning. Not all of them, not in the same way, not for 3 consecutive weeks. "Are you seeing this?" she called to her colleague across the darkened control room of the International Lunar Observatory. Dr. Takahashi rolled his chair over, squinting at the screen. "That's not possible. And yet, here it is." Elena highlighted a section of the data stream. "These energy signatures are concentrated on the far side of the moon. Too regular to be natural, too complex to be our equipment." "Could be Chinese or Russian," Takahashi suggested. Elena shook her head. "I checked. Neither has operations in that quadrant. Besides, these readings suggest technology beyond anything we've developed." The unspoken conclusion hung in the air between them. If it wasn't Earth technology, then what was it? 3 days later, Elena found herself in a secure conference room deep beneath the Pentagon, presenting her findings to a group of grim-faced military and scientific leaders from around the world. "The structure appears to be mostly subsurface," she explained, pointing to the holographic projection hovering above the table. "Based on thermal imaging and gravitational mapping, we estimate it covers approximately 7 square kilometers beneath the lunar surface." General Carter, representing United States Space Command, leaned forward. "And you're certain this installation was not built by humans?" "Absolutely certain," Elena replied. "The materials aren't consistent with anything in our engineering capabilities. More importantly, we've analyzed data going back 15 years. It's been there the whole time. We just weren't looking properly." The room fell silent. Something has been watching us," said Dr. Ramirez, the UVN's chief science advisor. "And they've gone to extraordinary lengths to remain hidden. Until now," Elena added. "They're suddenly using much more energy, almost as if they don't care if we notice them anymore," finished General Carter. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, Elena stood in the newly established First Contact Command Center, watching as humanity prepared for what might be the most significant moment in its history. The decision had been made to send a manned mission to the lunar site, a joint international team of scientists and military personnel. Elena had fought for and won a place on that team. Whatever they found there, she was determined to see it firsthand. As they made final preparations for launch, the first transmission came. It wasn't directed at the command center or any government. Instead, it simultaneously overrode every electronic communication device on Earth: televisions, phones, computers, radios, all carrying the same message. The image showed a humanoid figure, but with proportions slightly wrong: longer limbs, a larger cranium, skin with a faint bluish tint. Its eyes, large and entirely black, conveyed nothing of emotion or intent. "People of Earth," it began in flawless, accentless English. "I am Ambassador Kirva of the Galactic Harmony. Your detection of our research outpost necessitates this communication. For 8 centuries, we have monitored your development, as we do with all potentially viable species." The creature paused, its face remaining impassive. "Your civilization has reached a critical juncture. Your technological advancement has outpaced your social evolution. This imbalance represents a danger to yourselves, and potentially to others. The harmony exists to maintain peace among the stars. It is our responsibility to ensure developing species integrate peacefully into the galactic community." Another pause. "A delegation will arrive at your lunar outpost in 7 Earth days. Your leaders will meet with us to discuss the terms of your species' containment and guided development. This is not negotiable." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving billions of people staring at blank screens. In the command center, chaos erupted: shouting, demands for information, calls for immediate military response. Elena stood motionless, her mind racing to process what she had heard. "Containment," she whispered. The word carried implications that chilled her to the bone. The next 7 days passed in a blur of emergency global summits, military mobilizations, and public panic. Religious fervor swept across the globe, with many seeing the aliens as either saviors or demons. Stock markets crashed, then stabilized as governments implemented emergency measures. Streets filled with protesters demanding everything from immediate surrender to nuclear strikes against the lunar outpost. Through it all, Alina worked with a global team of linguists, mathematicians, and communication specialists, analyzing every nuance of the brief message, searching for insights into these beings who call themselves the Harmony. The language is too perfect, she told the assembled world leaders on day 5. It's not just that they speak English. They've clearly been studying us for centuries. But there's something clinical about it. They use containment and guided development as if they're discussing laboratory specimens. "What are you saying, Dr. Reyes?" asked the Secretary General. "I'm saying they don't see us as equals. This isn't first contact between peers. This is a zookeeper explaining the new rules to the animals." The meeting with the Harmony took place exactly as announced. A delegation of 12 humans, representing major world powers, scientific disciplines, and cultural perspectives, traveled to the lunar outpost. Alina was among them, her expertise in xenolinguistics deemed essential. What they found beneath the moon's surface defied expectation. The alien facility was vast, sterile, and oddly beautiful, curved walls of material resembling polished obsidian, illuminated by soft light that seemed to emanate from the surfaces themselves. The air was Earth normal, the gravity adjusted to mirror Earth's pull. 5 representatives of the Harmony awaited them. Though humanoid, up close they were clearly alien, standing nearly 2.5 meters tall, with 4-fingered hands and skin that seemed to shift in subtle iridescent patterns. Their movements were fluid, almost hypnotic. "Welcome," said the one Alina recognized as Kirve from the transmission. "We have prepared this space for your comfort." The human delegation was led to a circular chamber where seating had been arranged, another accommodation to human physiology. Kirve and the other Harmony representatives remained standing. "You have questions," Kirve stated. It wasn't a question. The Secretary General stepped forward. "Yes, you spoke of containment and guided development. We need to understand what that means for humanity." Kirve's expression remained unchanged. The Harmony oversees 3,472 developing species across this galaxy. Our protocols are well established. Earth will be provided with limited technological benefits, mostly medical and environmental. A regulatory presence will be established on your planet. Certain research directions will be prohibited. Space development will be strictly controlled. And if we refuse, General Carter asked, voice tight with barely controlled anger. For the first time, something resembling emotion, perhaps mild surprise, crossed Kirve's features. Refusing guidance is not an option that has been presented to any species in 12,000 years, the alien replied. The containment protocols would simply become more restrictive. Your orbital infrastructure would be dismantled. Your global communication systems would be regulated. If necessary, population centers would be relocated to facilitate supervision. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Why? Alina found herself speaking. What threat do we pose that warrants this level of control? Kirve turned those black, expressionless eyes toward her. Your species has demonstrated unusual tendencies toward violence, territorial expansion, and technological weaponization. Your recorded history shows continuous warfare. Your entertainment glorifies conflict. Your first major space project was developed from missile technology. That was nearly a century ago. Alina countered. We've evolved. Have you? Kirve gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing images of ongoing conflicts around the world, military parades, weapons demonstrations. Even now, your response to our presence was to send military representatives alongside diplomats. Your nuclear arsenals remain on heightened alert status. Those are precautions, not intentions, argued the Chinese premier. Any species would protect itself when faced with the unknown. Precisely our point. Another Harmony representative spoke for the first time. Your instinct is to protect through force. The Harmony protects through order and control. The Secretary General stepped forward again. You've been watching us for centuries. Surely you've seen our art, our music, our humanitarian efforts, our scientific achievements. Yes, Curve acknowledged. Your species has potential. That is why you are offered guidance rather than quarantine. Elena felt a chill at the implied alternative. How many other species have you quarantined? She asked. 17, came the immediate reply. Species deemed fundamentally incompatible with galactic harmony. The human delegation exchanged uneasy glances. We need time, the Secretary General said finally. Time to discuss your terms with our governments, our people. Curve inclined his head slightly. You have 30 days to prepare for integration. After that time, the Harmony will begin implementation. Regardless of your level of cooperation, less resistance will result in fewer restrictions. The message was clear. This wasn't a negotiation. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Elena found herself walking alongside Curve down one of the facility's curved corridors. You've been studying us for centuries, she said quietly. Have you ever lived among us, experienced our cultures firsthand? Direct integration presents contamination risks, Curve replied. We observe, we analyze, we understand. No, Elena shook her head. You don't understand. You can't understand us from a distance. Curve stopped walking, turning those unsettling eyes toward her. Explain. Humanity isn't defined by our technology or even our history. We're defined by how we face challenges, how we overcome them together. You see our capacity for violence, but miss our capacity for sacrifice, for connection, for hope. These are emotional arguments. Curve dismissed. The Harmony operates on empirical assessment, and that's why you'll never truly understand us, Elena replied. Because you're only measuring what you can quantify. Something flickered across Curve's features, perhaps curiosity, perhaps dismissal. Your resistance is anticipated but ultimately irrelevant. The process has begun. As the human delegation departed the lunar facility, Elena gazed back at the structure that had remained hidden for so long. The Harmony had revealed themselves because they no longer needed to hide. They believed their technological superiority made resistance impossible. What they didn't realize, what Elena hoped they would never have to learn, was that humanity had never responded well to ultimatums. Back on Earth, the delegation delivered their report to an emergency session of the United Nations. The terms offered by the Harmony amounted to supervised confinement. Earth would become a protectorate at best, a prison at worst. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. Faced with an external threat, humanity began to unite. Old rivalries were set aside as governments worldwide shared information, resources, and technology. The greatest scientific minds collaborated across borders. Military forces coordinated defense strategies, and in a secure facility beneath the Swiss Alps, Elena found herself part of a new team. Scientists, engineers, and strategists tasked with finding a way to protect Earth's autonomy. They've misjudged us, she told her colleagues during their first meeting. They think they understand humanity because they've watched us, but they've never experienced what happens when humans are backed into a corner. Around the table, faces set with determination nodded in agreement. The Harmony had crossed a line. Now they would learn what humanity was truly capable of. The impossible resistance. The underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps, codenamed Sanctuary, had transformed from a theoretical physics research center into humanity's war room in just 3 weeks. Scientists who had once competed for grants and prestige now worked side by side, united by a singular purpose: finding Earth's edge against an overwhelmingly advanced alien federation. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the center of the main laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays, showing everything humanity knew about the Harmony's technology. It wasn't much. Their propulsion system defies our current understanding of physics. Dr. Khalid Nasser, a quantum physicist from Cairo University, explained to the assembled team. The energy readings we captured during their arrival suggest they're manipulating space-time in ways we've only theorized. So we can't match their ships, General Carter stated flatly. Not directly, no, Khalid admitted, but we might not need to. Elena watched as he pulled up a new set of data, readings taken during her team's visit to the lunar outpost. Look here, Khalid highlighted a wavelength pattern. Their communication systems operate on quantum entanglement principles, but with a signature we've never seen before. It's elegant, efficient, and completely dependent on a specific subatomic frequency. Dr. Yumi Tanaka, who had revolutionized quantum computing before joining the Sanctuary team, leaned forward. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Khalid nodded, a ghost of a smile crossing his face. If we can't match their technology, perhaps we can disrupt it. This was the pattern that emerged in the days that followed. Humanity couldn't replicate the Harmony's advanced technology, but they could find unexpected ways to counter it. It wasn't about matching power with power, but finding creative asymmetric approaches. Meanwhile, reports from around the world indicated the Harmony was already beginning to establish its presence. Small ships, sleek, silent craft that seemed to shimmer in and out of visibility, had been spotted hovering over major cities. No hostile actions had been taken, but the message was clear. They were watching, waiting for their deadline to expire. 22 days after the lunar meeting, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. It was staring us in the face the whole time, Dr. Marcus Chen exclaimed, bursting into Elena's office with a tablet in hand. The materials scientists had been analyzing samples collected from dust particles that had adhered to the delegation's space suits after the lunar meeting. What am I looking at? Elena asked, studying the complex molecular structures displayed on the screen. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's fundamentally different, Marcus explained. They don't use traditional electronics or even quantum computing as we understand it. Their systems are biomechanical hybrids, organic components integrated with engineered materials. Elena frowned. How does that help us? Because organic systems have vulnerabilities that purely mechanical ones don't, Marcus replied, eyes bright with excitement. They're susceptible to certain frequencies, certain energies, and more importantly, they follow evolutionary patterns. Meaning? Meaning they optimize for known threats, but they might have blind spots to threats they've never encountered. The pieces were starting to come together. Each day brought new insights, new possibilities. 25 days after the ultimatum, the world's leaders gathered once again, this time to hear a proposal that seemed impossible just weeks before. We're calling it Project Firewall, Elena explained to the assembled dignitaries. Not because we believe we can build an impenetrable defense, but because we think we can create enough interference to force the Harmony to reconsider their approach. She gestured, and a holographic display showed a network of satellites and ground-based installations. These aren't weapons in the traditional sense. They're disruptors. Devices designed to create specific energy fields that interfere with the Harmony's technology. Will this stop them? The U.S. President asked bluntly. Probably not, Elena admitted, but it might slow them down enough to force negotiation rather than dictation. And it sends a message. Humanity will not be contained without resistance. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken questions, with fears no one wanted to voice. What if it failed? What if the Harmony responded with force? Finally, the Secretary General spoke. How quickly can this be implemented? That's the challenge, Elena replied. We need to deploy globally before they realize what we're doing. Once they understand our strategy, they'll adapt. You're talking about coordinating a worldwide technological deployment in, 5 days? The British Prime Minister shook his head in disbelief. 4 days, Elena corrected. And yes, it's never been done before. But neither has alien containment. Against all odds, Against centuries of geopolitical rivalry and mistrust, the nations of Earth moved as one. Military transport planes carried components to installation sites around the globe. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock. Civilian telecommunications companies repurposed satellites, rewriting firmware to accommodate the new protocols. 3 days before the Harmony's deadline, Elena stood in Sanctuary's command center, watching the deployment map as green lights steadily replaced red ones across the globe. "It's working," she whispered, almost afraid to believe it. "So far," General Carter cautioned beside her, "but we still don't know how they'll respond." The answer came sooner than expected. 12 hours before the full deployment was complete, the same alien transmission that had introduced the Harmony to humanity cut across global communications once again. Kirva's face appeared, still eerily impassive, but Elena thought she detected something new in those alien eyes. Perhaps concern, perhaps curiosity. "People of Earth," the alien began, "we have detected unusual energy patterns consistent with technological deployment. This suggests preparation for resistance against Harmony integration. Such actions are counterproductive and will result in more restrictive containment protocols." The alien paused, head tilting slightly. "To demonstrate the futility of resistance, we will neutralize your deployments in key locations. This is not meant as an aggressive act, merely as instruction." The transmission ended. Moments later, alarms blared across the command center. "We're getting reports of Harmony ships approaching deployment sites in North America, Eastern Europe, and East Asia," a communications officer reported, voice tight with tension. On the main screen, live feeds showed the alien vessels, each about the size of a small aircraft, hovering over military installations where firewall components were being assembled. "Are they attacking?" General Carter demanded. "No, sir. They appear to be scanning." "Wait." The feed showed beams of pale blue light extending from the Harmony ships, engulfing the human technology below. Where the light touched, systems went dark. "They're using some kind of targeted EMP," one of the technicians reported. "Our equipment is being rendered inoperable." Elena watched in growing despair as one installation after another went dark on the deployment map. The Harmony was methodically, almost casually, dismantling humanity's grand plan. Then something unexpected happened. At a deployment site in Kenya, when the blue beam touched the firewall components, instead of shutting down, the human technology pulsed with sudden energy. The Harmony ship visibly shuddered, its smooth motion becoming erratic. The blue beam flickered and died. Then, incredibly, the alien vessel began to descend, not in controlled flight, but in what appeared to be an emergency landing. Similar reports began coming in from other locations: Brazil, Australia, Japan. Not at every site, but enough to matter. Somehow, some of the firewall components were affecting the Harmony ships in ways no one had predicted. "What's happening?" General Carter demanded. Dr. Tanaka was already analyzing the data streams. "The biomechanical interface," Dr. Chen identified. "Our disruptors are having a stronger effect than we anticipated. They're not just interfering with communications, they're disrupting the integration between organic and mechanical systems." "You mean we found a weakness?" Elena said, hardly daring to hope. "I mean we found an unexpected interaction," Tanaka cautioned. "They'll adapt quickly." But the damage was done. For the first time, humanity had demonstrated that the Harmony's technological superiority wasn't absolute. The alien ships retreated, withdrawing to higher orbits. Within hours, another transmission came through. Curve appeared again, but this time, the alien's composure showed definite cracks. There was tension in its posture, a tightness around those large black eyes. "Your resistance exceeds predicted parameters," the alien stated. "This indicates a miscalculation in our assessment of your species. The Harmony Council has determined that more direct intervention is required." Elena felt a chill at those words. "A pacification fleet will arrive within 7 days," Curve continued. "Conventional defensive measures will be ineffective. For your own safety, we recommend full compliance upon their arrival. Further resistance will necessitate more intensive containment protocols." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. "Pacification fleet," General Carter finally said, voice grim. "I don't think we need a translator for that." Alina's mind was racing. They're escalating because we surprised them. Their models didn't predict we could affect their technology. Does it matter why they're escalating? One of the military advisors demanded. They're sending warships. It matters because it tells us something fundamental. Alina insisted. Their understanding of us is flawed. Their predictions are imperfect. And that means they can be surprised again. The next 7 days saw humanity pivot from defense to what could only be called preparation for war. The Firewall project continued, but with a new purpose, not just disruption but active countermeasures. Every grounded Harmony ship was studied, every piece of alien technology analyzed for weaknesses. And something else emerged, something the Harmony could never have predicted because it defied logical models of species behavior. Nations that had been bitter enemies for generations now shared military secrets. Private corporations opened their research vaults. Religious leaders called for unity across faiths. Humanity, faced with extinction of its autonomy, if not its existence, found a level of cooperation that had seemed impossible just weeks before. 4 days before the pacification fleet's arrival, a new kind of vessel rose from a hidden facility in the Australian outback. Smaller than conventional military aircraft, its design was like nothing seen before, a hybrid of Earth technology and principles reverse-engineered from the downed Harmony ships. "Phoenix 1, you are cleared for test flight," came the command from the underground control center. Within the experimental craft, Commander Area Zhang, formerly of the Chinese Space Force, acknowledged the clearance. She had been selected for this mission not just for her piloting skills, but for her background in xenobiology, a field that had been theoretical until 3 weeks ago. Beginning ascent, she reported, hands moving across controls that responded as much to her neural patterns as to physical touch. Another innovation inspired by Harmony technology. The Phoenix rose silently, accelerating at a rate that would have crushed a human pilot if not for the inertial dampening system. Yet another technology that had gone from theoretical to functional in record time. As the craft reached the upper atmosphere, Area activated the experimental drive system. There was a moment of disorientation as space seemed to bend around the vessel, and then Phoenix 1 was in orbit. "Telemetry is strong," came the voice of Dr. Chen from Mission Control. "How does she handle?" "Like nothing I've ever flown," Area replied. "The neural interface is intuitive. It's like the ship responds to intention as much as command." "That's exactly what it's designed to do," Chen confirmed. "The biomechanical principles we adapted from their technology allow for a degree of integration between pilot and vessel that conventional controls could never achieve." Area completed a series of maneuvers, testing the craft's capabilities. The results exceeded even the most optimistic projections. Phoenix 1 wasn't a match for Harmony vessels in raw power or speed, but its responsiveness, its agility, was unprecedented. Back at Sanctuary, Elena watched the test flight data with a mixture of pride and apprehension. What they had accomplished was remarkable, taking alien principles and adapting them to human purposes in ways the Harmony had never considered. "It's not enough," General Carter said beside her, giving voice to her unspoken fear. "One experimental ship against a fleet." "Not one," Elena corrected. "The production facilities in Brazil, India, and Canada report their Phoenix units will be operational within 48 hours. We'll have 12 ships by the time the pacification fleet arrives." "Still not enough." "Not in a conventional battle." "No," Elena agreed. "But we're not planning for a conventional battle." She pulled up the latest schematics for what the engineering team had dubbed the Stinger, a device that amplified the disruptive effect they had discovered during the Firewall deployments. Each Phoenix would carry one. "We don't need to destroy their fleet," she explained. "We just need to demonstrate that the cost of containing us will be higher than they're willing to pay." Carter studied the design, years of military experience evident in his critical appraisal. You're betting everything on their rational self-interest. What if they decide we're too dangerous to leave free, regardless of the cost? Elena had no answer for that. The truth was, humanity was out of options. They could surrender and accept containment, or they could resist and force the Harmony to reveal their true intentions. As Phoenix 1 returned to Earth, its successful test flight representing humanity's highest achievement, and perhaps its last hope, Elena found herself thinking of Curva's words. Your resistance exceeds predicted parameters. Whatever happened next, she was certain of one thing. The Harmony was about to learn that when it came to humanity, their parameters were woefully inadequate. 3 days later, the first ships of the Harmony's pacification fleet appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Massive vessels, each larger than humanity's largest naval carriers, moved with precision and purpose toward Earth. In response, 12 Phoenix craft took up positions in high orbit, a laughably small force against the approaching armada. Yet each carried with it something the Harmony had never encountered: the combined ingenuity, desperation, and defiance of a species that refused to be contained. As the alien fleet entered lunar orbit, a transmission came through to Sanctuary's command center. Curve's face appeared, but Elena immediately noticed something different in the alien's demeanor: a tension, perhaps even a hint of uncertainty. Your deployment of combat vessels indicates continued resistance, the alien stated. This is unfortunate, but not unexpected. The pacification process will proceed as planned. Elena stepped forward, knowing the transmission was two-way. We prefer to call them defensive vessels, she replied calmly. And yes, Earth will defend its sovereignty. You cannot prevail against a pacification fleet, Curve said, not as a threat, but as what the alien clearly believed to be an objective fact. Perhaps not, Elena acknowledged, but we can ensure that pacification comes at a cost your Harmony may find unacceptable. For the first time, she saw something like genuine emotion cross those alien features: confusion, perhaps, or disbelief. You would risk destruction rather than accept guidance, Curve asked. We would risk everything to remain free, Elena replied simply. That's something your centuries of observation should have taught you about humanity. The alien was silent for a long moment. The pacification fleet will proceed, it finally said. Your resistance will be documented as an example of the irrationality that necessitates containment. As the transmission ended, Elena turned to the command center staff. Prepare the Phoenix squadron, she ordered. It's time to show the Harmony what they're really dealing with. Outside Earth's atmosphere, 12 ships prepared to face an alien armada. Inside each, a pilot-like Area Zong readied systems that represented humanity's greatest technological leap in centuries. The impossible resistance was about to make its stand. The breaking point. In the vacuum of space, 12 Phoenix craft hovered in formation, facing the approaching Harmony pacification fleet. From Sanctuary's command center, Elena watched through the data feeds as humanity's experimental vessels, each a miracle of adaptation and innovation, prepared to engage an enemy with thousands of years of technological advantage. Phoenix Squadron, you are cleared to engage according to mission parameters. General Carter's voice was steady as he gave the order. Acknowledged, came Commander Zhang's reply from Phoenix 1. Squadron deploying to intercept positions. On the tactical display, the 12 human vessels spread out in a pattern designed to maximize coverage of Earth's orbital approach vectors. They appeared tiny compared to the massive Harmony ships now entering lunar orbit. The lead Harmony vessel is transmitting, announced the communications officer. A holographic projection appeared at the center of the command center. A Harmony officer, similar to Curve, but with distinctive markings that suggested higher rank. This is Fleet Commander Sire Nax of the Galactic Harmony Pacification Division, the alien announced. Your defensive posture is noted but will not impede our mission. Power down your vessels and prepare for boarding and assessment. General Carter stepped forward. This is General William Carter of Earth United Defense. Your vessels have entered Earth's sovereign space without permission. We demand you withdraw beyond lunar orbit immediately." The alien's expression didn't change, but something in its posture suggested mild surprise, perhaps at the directness of the response, or perhaps that there was a response at all. "Your species has been designated for containment and guided development," Cyrenac stated. "This process is non-negotiable. Stand down your vessels, or they will be neutralized." "We cannot comply with that order," Carter replied firmly. The alien made a gesture that might have been dismissal. "Then you will be neutralized. This exchange is concluded." The transmission cut off abruptly. "They're moving," reported the tactical officer. 3 vessels breaking from the main fleet, approaching on intercept vectors. Elena watched the display, heart pounding. Even one Harmony warship dwarfed the entire Phoenix squadron in size and presumed firepower. 3 of them seemed overwhelming. "Phoenix squadron acknowledging the threat," came Zhang's voice, remarkably calm. "Implementing Stinger protocols." On the tactical display, the 12 Phoenix craft altered their formation, creating a web-like pattern between Earth and the approaching Harmony vessels. It was the deployment they had practiced for, designed not to directly engage the alien ships, but to create a field of disruption that would affect their biomechanical systems. The lead Harmony ship fired first, a pulse of energy that distorted space itself as it lanced toward Phoenix 3. The human pilot executed a maneuver that should have been impossible, the neural interface allowing for reaction times no conventional controls could match. The energy pulse passed harmlessly into space. "Phoenix 3, clear," the pilot reported. "Stinger deployments at 70%. Continue deployment," Zhang ordered. "All units maintain disruption web integrity." The Harmony ships fired again, this time in a coordinated pattern designed to saturate the space occupied by the human vessels. Again, the Phoenix craft moved with uncanny precision, evading the brunt of the attack. Where glancing hits did occur, the adaptive shielding, another technology reverse-engineered from downed Harmony scouts, dispersed much of the energy. "Stinger network at 90%, reported Phoenix 2. "Ready to activate on your command." Elena held her breath. This was the moment everything hinged on, the culmination of 3 weeks of desperate innovation and adaptation. "Activate Stingers," Zhang ordered. Across the formation, each Phoenix craft initiated its primary weapon, not a conventional armament, but a device designed to generate specific energy patterns that interfered with the Harmony's biomechanical systems. Individually, each Stinger would have minimal effect. Together, networked and synchronized, they created a disruption field unlike anything the Harmony had encountered before. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The 3 Harmony warships continued their approach, weapons charging for another salvo. Then it began. Subtle at first, fluctuations in the energy readings from the alien vessels, slight deviations in their precise formation. Then more pronounced effects, weapon systems powering down, propulsion becoming erratic. "It's working," whispered someone in the command center. Elena watched, hardly daring to believe it. The Stinger network was affecting the Harmony ships just as they'd hoped, disrupting the integration between organic and mechanical components that made their advanced technology possible. The lead Harmony vessel suddenly veered off course, its weapons going dark. The other 2 ships slowed, movements becoming sluggish as their systems fought against the disruption field. "Phoenix Squadron, maintain positions," Zhang ordered. "The effect is stronger than anticipated." In the command center, a cheer began to rise, but Elena raised a hand for silence. "Wait," she cautioned. "The main fleet is moving." On the tactical display, the remaining Harmony vessels, 7 massive warships, were adjusting their formation, spreading out to encircle Earth in a containment pattern. "They're adapting," Elena realized aloud. "They're going to try to overwhelm the Stinger network by attacking from multiple vectors." General Carter was